Argumentative passages. In this module, you will learn to comprehend argumentative passages and answer questions based on them. What happens when two people have conflicting opinions about a particular topic? Do you think this could be a solution to the problem? No. How would they then resolve the conflict? They might hold a conversation or dialogue. They might engage in a discourse or debate. In the debate, each of the persons might come up with arguments in support of their own opinion and try to prove their own view right. In such a case, the other person will try to come up with stronger arguments to counter his opponent's view. Similarly, in formal pieces of writing, we can use words to persuade or convince readers that our opinion or stance on a subject is correct. Such a piece of writing is termed argumentative writing. So, what is argumentative writing? How do we define the term? Argumentative writing is a form of writing meant to persuade the reader to think the way you do. It discusses both the positive and negative aspects of a particular issue, supporting one's views or arguments with reasons, facts, and examples. An argumentative text is different from a persuasive text in that while the former presents multiple sides of a topic, discussing points in favor of as well as against it, a persuasive text presents and advocates only one opinion, that is, the author's opinion, very strongly. Before we analyze an argumentative passage, let us first understand the specific features of an argumentative passage. The first and most important element of an argumentative passage is taking the stance or position, that is, stating which side the author is on. Merely stating one's position does not make one's writing very convincing. A good argumentative passage must include reasons why the author believes the way he or she does. The author of an argumentative piece also needs to support his or her argument with evidence or facts. Here, it is also important to include the source of one's evidence in order to be truly effective. An impressive argumentative passage also includes counter-arguments or statements which reason why the other side's arguments are not correct. This will serve to defeat the objections of the opponent, making an argumentative piece even more convincing. Argumentative writing may make use of several strategies. Some of these are comparison and contrast, cause and effect, evaluation, and concession and rebuttal. Now let us look at these strategies in detail. Comparison and contrast are two of the most frequently used strategies for making a point in argumentative writing. Comparison deals with similarities between two things, while contrast deals with differences. Discovering the cause and effect of a phenomenon is also a commonly used strategy in argumentation. Causes are the factors which give rise to a phenomenon or event, and effects are the outcomes of events. It is also a problem-solving approach, as identifying the nature of the cause helps in arriving at an appropriate solution to the problem. It also helps us understand the complexities of things and gives us reason for taking a certain stance. Evaluation refers to the making of a value judgment. The taking or supporting of a stance or position in an argument involves making value judgments. This requires determining whether something is good or bad, strong or weak, beautiful or ugly, etc., as per some established criteria. Another powerful strategy used in argumentation is concession and rebuttal. This refers to acknowledging a point made by the other side before proving it wrong. Concession or allowing for a possible outcome indicates an understanding of the reasons that caused the disagreement of opinion. It also reflects a certain level of maturity in thinking as we consider the issue from various angles. Rebuttal is negative evaluation. It consists in negation of the very point or argument which the author first seemed to acknowledge or accept. Concession and rebuttal limit the criticism and thus can also serve as a defense against opposing arguments. Let us now look at how we can answer comprehension questions based on argumentative passages. Here, it is very important to know what kind of questions we may be asked. There are basically three types of questions that are based on comprehension: why questions, inferential questions, rephrasing or vocabulary-based questions. Why questions require us to give reasons or provide explanations for our answers. To answer such questions, look for words that show cause, effect, and purpose. Some examples of cause words are because, due to, as, since, on account of, for this reason, etc. Some of the effect words are consequently, therefore, as a result, etc. Some purpose words are so that, for, in order to, so as to, etc. Inference questions require us to draw conclusions based on the information given in the passage. They are not direct questions. They require us to read between the lines. Rephrasing or vocabulary-based questions require us to explain words or phrases or to substitute them with other words or phrases with the same meaning. Now let us look at the major steps to be followed while attempting argumentative passages. The first step is reading the passage quickly to get an overview. This process is termed skimming. We generally read the first and last sentence of the passage or each paragraph to gather its main idea. We then glance through the rest of the passage to look for more important pieces of information. Let's look at the screen and skim through the given passage. There is no doubt that the common house sparrow has almost disappeared from the city of Delhi, which was once home to this gregarious bird, which is also the state bird of the capital. This certainly is a serious cause for concern, as sparrows are an important indicator species and their disappearance points to some serious change in our ecology. Some of the important factors responsible for the decline in the population of sparrows are air and water pollution, the loss of native herbs and shrubs, and the increased radiation from cell phone towers. Ornithologists have cited the growing shift towards urban landscape to be the cause of the decline in the sparrow population. Sparrows nest more around old buildings or in houses where there are old electricity meters, kitchen gardens, shrubs, etc. Urban architecture and tall glass buildings do not offer such nesting spaces for sparrows. Even the infrastructure of our markets has changed. There aren't many open places where these birds can get grains. The use of pesticides in farming kills the worms that sparrows feed on. Another trend being noticed by experts is that rock pigeons have almost grown out of proportion and taken up the space of sparrows. However, there are some birders who maintain that while sparrow numbers are dwindling, the bird has not disappeared entirely from the city and only shifted to more inhabitable parts. According to them, the increase in the number of rock pigeons cannot be taken as a reason for the decline in the sparrow population. They also advocate that the fall in their numbers is not as alarming as it is portrayed to be, and lots of sparrows have been seen in Delhi NCR region where there are old government buildings, water bodies, or green spaces. Saving the sparrow, therefore, is not a lost cause yet. Nevertheless, the truth cannot be denied that it is high time we intervened and checked further decline in the population of these birds. Conservationists are trying to understand the cause of the declining number of sparrows and their complete absence from some parts of the city as it isn't just about missing the tiny bird. It is an indicator of something much graver. Now that we have skimmed through the passage, we get an overview that this passage expresses the author's concern about the declining sparrow population in the city of Delhi. It also tells us the causes of the bird's disappearance. Let us now look at the questions based on the passage. Question 1. Why, according to the author, is the decline in the sparrow population a serious cause for concern? Question 2. Give 3 reasons for the decline in the sparrow population. Question 3. How has a change in the infrastructure of Delhi's houses and markets affected the sparrow population in the city? Question 4. How is the use of pesticides in farming responsible for decrease in the sparrow population? Question 5. How is the increase in the number of rock pigeons related to the sparrow population? Question 6. Which word in the passage has the same meaning as livable? We have already skimmed through the passage and have a general idea of what the passage is about. Now, to answer the questions, we need to scan the passage. Scanning helps us to identify specific facts or pieces of information required to answer the questions. While scanning, we read a text quickly with specific aims and look for keywords. We look only for a specific fact or piece of information at a time without reading everything. Now, the first question is, why, according to the author, is the decline in the sparrow population a serious cause for concern? What are the key words that come to mind as you read this question? Decline in the sparrow population and cause for concern. Let us look for these keywords in the passage. We may not find all the keywords, but if we can locate some of these, it will serve our purpose. Look at this sentence, for example. This certainly is a serious cause for concern, as the sparrows are an important indicator species and their disappearance points to some serious change in our ecology. Here we find the keywords serious cause for concern. This is a why question, so we also look for cause words like because, due to, as, since, on account of, for this reason, etc. Can you see any of these words in the passage? Let us look at this sentence again. This certainly is a serious cause for concern, as the sparrows are an important indicator species, and their disappearance points to some serious change in our ecology. We have the cause word as used in this sentence. The part of the sentence that follows this will be our answer. So the answer to the first question will be, the decline in the sparrow population is a serious cause for concern, as the sparrows are an important indicator species and their large-scale disappearance points to some serious change in our ecosystem. Now let's move on to the second question, which is, give 3 reasons for the decline in the sparrow population. Here the keywords or key phrases are causes and decline in the sparrow population. Let us look for these words in the passage. This is again a why question, only framed a little differently. The answer to this question has been very clearly given in the passage. Look at this part of the passage, which speaks of the factors responsible for the decline in sparrow population. This not only contains the keywords, but also provides us the answer to this question. Therefore, the answer to the second question will be, 3 causes of the decline in the sparrow population are air and water pollution, the increased radiation from cell phone towers, and the growing shift towards urban landscape. Now let's attempt the third question. How has a change in the infrastructure of Delhi's houses and markets affected the sparrow population in the city? Here the keywords or key phrases are change in infrastructure of houses and markets and affected the sparrow population. This is an inferential question. Although the passage provides us with plenty of relevant information, we will have to read between the lines to answer this question. Let us look for the keywords in the passage and read the surrounding text to check if it provides relevant information. Look at this part of the passage. Here we see something written about houses and markets. This part also provides us with the answer to the second question. The answer is, Delhi houses are now based on modern urban architecture. Tall glass buildings do not offer nesting spaces for sparrows as old houses did. Even the infrastructure of our markets has changed. There aren't many open places where these birds can get grains. Let's answer the fourth question now. The question is, how is the use of pesticides in farming responsible for the decrease in the sparrow population? The keywords here are pesticides and decrease in the sparrow population. Let us scan the passage again and try to locate these words. This is also an inferential question and we may not find the direct keywords, but we can certainly read between the lines to get the answer. Look at the sentence. The use of pesticides in farming kills the worms that sparrows feed on. Here the author talks about the effect of pesticides on worms which serve as food for sparrows. Naturally, in the absence of food, sparrows cannot survive. So, the answer to this question will be, the use of pesticides in farming kills the worms that sparrows feed on. Naturally, the sparrows do not get sufficient food and most of them die of hunger and starvation. Now let's attempt the fifth question. It is, how is the increase in the number of rock pigeons related to the sparrow population? The keywords here are increase in the number of rock pigeons and sparrow population. Try and locate these words in the passage. Look at this sentence which talks about the increase in the number of pigeons. This also gives us the answer to the fifth question. The answer will be, as pigeons increase in the number, they take up the space earlier used by sparrows. Sparrows thus lose their habitat and do not have proper dwelling and breeding places. This adversely affects their population. Let us look at the last question now. The question is, which word in the passage has the same meaning as livable? The answer can be found in paragraph 3, as the clue indicates. This is a vocabulary-based question. The word livable means a place which is good or suitable for living. When we look at this paragraph, we see that the word inhabitable means the same. So, the answer is the word inhabitable has the same meaning as livable. Now let us recap the steps we have followed to comprehend the passage and answer the questions based on it. Skim through the passage to understand its overview or main idea. Read the questions and identify the keywords. Scan the text for these keywords, then read the surrounding text to check if it provides relevant information. Try to identify the kind of question that has been asked, a why question, an inferential question, or a rephrasing question. Now answer the questions based on your reading and understanding. A few things to remember while answering questions. Avoid copying the lines or paragraphs from the passage. Rephrase them in your own words to answer the questions. Don't write irrelevant things as part of your answer. Write only what has been asked for and base your answer on the information provided in the passage. Don't begin your answers with because. Do not write incomplete sentences. Reread your answers and correct grammatical and structural errors if any. Now let's practice. Read the passage and answer the questions that follow. Let's recap. Argumentative writing is a form of writing meant to persuade someone to think the way you do. It discusses both positive and negative aspects of a particular issue, supporting one's views or arguments with reasons, facts, and examples. An argumentative text is different from a persuasive text in that while the former presents multiple sides of a topic, discussing points in favor of as well as against it, a persuasive text presents and advocates only one opinion, that is, the author's opinion, very strongly. The first and most important element of an argumentative passage is taking the stance or position, that is, stating which side the author is on. A good argumentative passage must include reasons why the author believes the way he or she does. The author of an argumentative piece also needs to support his or her views with evidence or facts. An impressive argumentative passage also includes counter-arguments or statements which reason why the other side's arguments are not correct. To answer the questions based on a persuasive passage, we skim through the passage to understand its main idea, read the questions and identify the keywords, scan the text for these keywords, then read the surrounding text to check if it provides relevant information. Try to identify the kind of question that has been asked, a why question, an inferential question, or a rephrasing question. Now answer the questions based on your reading and understanding.